Now it's my great pleasure to introduce our keynote this morning, Sandy Carter, right here. Sandy is a general manager, developer ecosystems and startup, responsible for IBM's worldwide focus on cloud ecosystem. As chief evangelist for the ecosystem, she helps developers increase their productivity and creativity. The author of 3 books, including Get Bold, Sandy is one of 10 most powerful women in tech. Sandy was also recently named a CRN 2016 channel chief. Sandy is a good friend of Thai, and we are delighted to have you back this year. Please.
Truly my honor to be back here. This is my 3rd year, and I made sure that I traveled almost around the world to get here because I did not want to miss meeting all of you and talking to you and participating in Thai this year. So thank you for this honor. So what I want to talk about today as we kick off this track is something that I consider extremely essential, but also something I think that can change your business, whether you're a startup or whether you're a large enterprise. So it's going to be the 5 trends that outthink. And as we're going through, we do have a little competition at Thai. There is a Twitter hashtag at the bottom. Sandy_Carter is my Twitter ID. I'm behind because I just showed up. So if you guys would help me catch up, I would really appreciate that as well. Okay, so let's get started. It was really funny when I was on the plane, I was doing some searches and I came across this TV character. Do you guys remember this? Knight Rider? And I thought, oh my gosh, look at him. He's using IoT. He's talking into his watch. This is years ago, right? It was a fantasy back then when we started looking at these type of things. Like, could we ever imagine a world where something like this would happen? But of course, almost everything that Knight Rider used is actually a reality today. So what I wanted to do is look at some of the things that we today imagine, but trends that we can take advantage of today. Not wait till tomorrow, but leverage to change the future, much like what we saw from Knight Rider. Now, much recently, IBM just named a chief digital officer, signaling a new trend that we believe is happening around the world. My group is now in this chief digital officer area, and it's really about this disruption that's occurring around the world. So if you think about it, digital apps are driving digital disruption. Seems like a very simple statement. But when we talk about a digital app, we're not just talking about an app that's online. We're talking about an app that can dismediate a business function. If you think about Uber, for instance, or Airbnb, their digital app enabled them to dismediate a portion of a business. And that's really what we're looking at today. Now, recently, not just IBM announced this digital officer, but we also now see Gartner, who's got a new practice as well that's around these digital applications. And so what I wanted to do is, as we're thinking about how technology and business come together to change the world, what are those technology trends underneath that will help us create this new digital world? And so I wanted to highlight 5 trends that I think are going to help us in the digital world. And you'll notice they're not all congruous. So that if you look at it, in the center, in the heart, is cognitive computing. We're going to talk a lot about cognitive. It's come a long way since we talked about it last year. So while not a new trend, it has matured, it's grown up, and we now have not just IBM talking about cognitive, but folks like Microsoft and Google who've joined that bandwagon as well. Last year, we talked a little bit about Internet of Things, and I know my dear colleague and friend Rashmi talked about Internet of Things yesterday, but I want to talk about the new trend being cognitive IoT, and I'm going to show you the difference and how that can be leveraged. We're also going to spend some time on gamification, and you might be like, what, gamification? But if you think about the next frontier, what's really the last competitive advantage that's out there. If you look at the latest quality reports, the difference in quality and products is very low now, not like it used to be. The real differentiation is in the experience, the customer experience. And who better for a phenomenal UI than gaming? And how you bring that into the real work world, I think, is a big trend that we're going to start seeing more and more of. We're going to talk a little bit about blockchain. Now, blockchain is starting with its roots in financial services, but it will spread tremendously. And I think it's also a technology that cuts across many different languages, Node.js, Java, that's really going to have an impact on what we're doing. And not just in banking, across the board with supply chain. And then finally, last but not least, I also want to raise design thinking. In fact, yesterday I was with a very successful SaaS startup. Their entire success they attribute to the way that they've used and leveraged the design of their technology with design thinking. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Okay? You guys all ready? Yeah. You're all awake? Yeah. Okay, here we go. We're going to start first with cognitive. And unfortunately, I can't go very deep in any of these. I'm going to do kind of like enough to really have you be interested in the trend. And then, of course, you can go to the IBM booth or other booths to learn more, or please come and see me. I'm going to be staying for Brian's talk because you can't miss that, but I'll be around to chat with you guys as well. Okay, so let's start with cognitive computing. So cognitive computing, we know, has grown in interest. When IBM first started talking about this last year, we were one of the few that used the term cognitive. There were others that were talking about artificial intelligence or machine learning. But now as we see the start of that trend, as it was just a baby last year, has grown and now become cognition. So let's start with the basics. What is cognitive? Well, cognitive is software that understands. You have to teach it with a corpus of knowledge, but it understands. It reasons, it thinks, and it learns. Most importantly, it learns. It learns traits, trends, behaviors to really have an impact in the marketplace. It is not AI. It's not machine learning. It's all of those things on steroids plus. It's bigger than. And if you think about it, from last year when I first started talking about cognition, I want to show you some differences. Now remember, last year I showed you numbers that were in the 20s and 30s. Take a look at the growth now. So last year, 20% of healthcare providers were going to invest in cognitive. This year and beyond, it's 95%. Financial services, last year, 32%. This year, 88%. And if we want to look forward, developers, today, only about 1% of developers embed cognition into their applications. But based on the trend, 50% are going to embed cognition into what they're doing. So this is definitely a trend you don't want to be left behind on. You want to make sure that you're embedding this into your business processes, your application, leveraging and using this as you move along. Now, a lot of times for me, I'm visual, so I wanted to make sure that you guys saw what this actually was. So I wanted to just take a snapshot of some of the cognitive services. So you'll see over on the left, when Watson was born at IBM, she was playing, I did say she, I saw those heads pop up, I did say she. She was playing chess, right? And she was doing Jeopardy. And on Jeopardy, it was really about a Q&A engine, right? Just a Q&A engine. Now, there's so many other things. There's relationship orientation. There's visualization. There's trade-off analysis. There's a whole set of APIs around text to language, which is really important for conversation. And so these cognitive services have grown, and they've grown in their use. And I'm going to show you visually. I'm going to do a demo of one, just because we don't have enough time. I'm also going to show you how you can go and do it. And then I want to also show you an inclination of it inside of a robot so you can see how it's also being used. So these services are all available today. If you're part of IBM's Global Entrepreneur Program, you actually get access to these for free for up to a year. And you can use them, play with them. If you're not part of it and you just want to play with it, if you go to the developer cloud, you can do like I do and go and play with all of these services and see how they work. You can input your own data set. So the service I'm going to show you today in a quick demo is visualization, because I think this is really quite powerful. I'm actually working with an entrepreneur on visualization today. So let me just show you a very quick demo. So now you guys all know that you have to train for cognition. The computer's not just naturally smart. So you have to develop what we call a corpus of knowledge. And in visualization, that corpus means you've got to have pictures that are positive images of what you're trying to teach, but also negative images. So much like you train your own children, right? In fact, I'm honored today to have my daughter here. She's my little Python developer sitting right up here in the front row. So just as you train your children, right, with positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement, the same thing is what you do for Watson. So let me just do it. This is just a really quick little demo. You're going to see us train Watson to recognize pizza. So hopefully you're going to see up there, you're going to see us type in pizza. We've already preloaded the positive images of pizza and the negative images of pizza. And then Watson, she's going to think and learn and train, just like your kids do homework or you practice on tests or you do Quizlet, so that you can learn what's going on. And now you're going to test. And so we're picking a picture of a pizza and we're going to ask Watson, is that pizza or is that not pizza? And so in this case, 66% accuracy of this is a pizza. But now we're going to try to trick Watson. We're going to have a pizza pan with spaghetti and meatballs on it. We're going to ask Watson, is that pizza? And what did she say? No, not a pizza. I know that that's not a pizza. Now, that's a simple demo. You can load your own pictures online for free. Try it out. But what are the applications that you could leverage and use this for? Well, one, I'm working with a startup in the insurance space. And instead of just being able to take a picture of your car and then type in all the information about the accident, we've now trained Watson to recognize the make and the model of the car, what the damage is. It recognizes a cracked window, a scrape, a bump, whatever that is coming in. It also can analyze the weather because it's hooked into the weather APIs, so it can also provide to the insurance team, you know, it was hailing, it was raining, what else was going on. And soon this could be even broader. And you could imagine using visualization in many of the things that you do today. So let me show you another one of my very favorite uses. This is very business focused, I have to say. This is Watson playing rock, paper, scissors. You guys know rock, paper, scissors? Yeah, okay. So rock, paper, scissors, if you think about it, this is Marvin, and this is a he. So Marvin is playing rock, paper, scissors. Now, think about what we had to teach Marvin, how he had to learn. First of all, he has to visually see, is it a rock, is it paper, is it scissors? He analyzes who's he playing, a man or a woman. Now, why would that be important? Well, 80% of the time, men, when they play rock, paper, scissors, they start with the rock. Power, force. And so if you want to beat a man, what do you play? You play paper. So if you are playing a woman, 80% of the time, she will start with scissors. And so if you're going to beat a woman, you're going to hit the rock. So he has to analyze who he's playing. We also ask the person he's playing to enter in their Twitter handle. So Marvin also analyzes the personality of who you're playing, right? Because you're going to play more than one. You're going to play multiples. So analyze it. So win rate here is very, very high. But imagine this. This is a robot that has the ability to see, to reason, to do trade-off analysis, personality analysis. All of those things he is analyzing and using in order to play this game. Now, how would you use that in the real world? Where we work with Conrad Hotels, the Hilton, and this is their concierge robot. And have anybody experienced this? I just actually was greeted by Nobody yet? Okay. So the concierge robot comes in, and I think it's really quite cool. So you can go up to the robot, and you can say, I want to go to the art museum today. Where's the closest art museum? And he'll tell you, well, the closest art museum is here. But now the Hilton has trained the concierge to upsell. Wow, if you want to go to that museum, did you know there's a special exhibit of Monet? If you can pay an additional $5, you can go see Monet. So now we've got not just answering a question, but also upsell and cross-sell. And actually, the upsell cross-sell here is about 40% higher than a person. So interesting. So natural language, speech to text, text to speech, dialogue, trade-off, engagement, and doing all this analysis. So you can see cognition has come a long way. And if you today are a startup and you're not using it, this is something you need to start thinking about and using and leveraging in your applications. Okay, that's our trend number one. Trend number two I want to talk about is now IoT, but IoT with a twist, with an upgrade. Combining Internet of Things with that cognition. So now you're implying not just gathering the data, but using intelligence and infusing that intelligence into all of the systems around the Internet of Things. So if you think about this, the true value that we've talked about last year, and I saw many speakers last year here at TIE talk about the opportunity in IoT, it was about the sensors, the hardware, and it was about the data. But I'm actually originally from Texas, and so we know oil. And if you have oil on your land, you're really excited, but only until you can refine that oil, because that's where you make your money, is when the oil is refined. The same thing is true that we've learned over the last year on IoT. The sensors are important, the data is important, but where you make your money is in the intelligence. It's in the analysis of the data. And that's why the new trend, we believe, is cognitive IoT. We're seeing that bear out as well in the numbers. So if you see the interesting information, $7.4 billion was spent by VCs investing in IoT companies, but the most money, more than 50% of the money, went to those companies who had a plan to optimize the data, to apply intelligence to the data. Not just the sensors as the year before, but people who are being able to analyze the data. And now, because of that intelligence that's being embedded inside, we're seeing that global businesses, enterprises who will consume that technology are now sitting at $4.5 trillion as they move forward. So a lot of money can be made here. And again, our advice for startups is the sensors are important, the data is important, but what you really have to make sure of in your solution is that you've got the analysis of the data, and that data enables someone to take action on what's happening. So let me show you an example that I think is interesting around data. I don't know how many of you guys saw this on the runway, the fashion show. Did anybody see the cognitive dress? Okay, great. All the women are raising their hands. This is good. Okay. But the men should raise your hands, because the fashion industry, wearable IoT, and applying cognition to it is growing right now at 119%. It's going to be an amazing industry. So on the left-hand side, if you look at hashtag cognitive dress, you're going to see that in this dress, designed by one of the great fashion designers, for the New York City runway, we provide cognition into the sensors. So let's talk about that for a second. So as she wears the dress, when she moves, you've got IoT in the dress to show when she's moving. When she's moving, the dress is lit up. But when she stops to talk to someone so that it's not distracting, the dress stops lighting up so that it's calm, so that you can talk to the person. In addition, you can also do hashtag cognitive dress and change the color of the dress. So during the evening, while she's wearing this beautiful white dress, if you thought, wow, you know what? She would look great in red, all of you guys could get together, hashtag cognitive dress, and turn the dress red. Very cool, right? The other feature that we had in there, which we had to modify a bit, was we also connected the sensors to the heartbeat so that the dress and the colors and the lights changed as your heart was beating. But we found when something exciting happened, it was too fast, right? And of course, for practical purposes, if you were going on a date, you wouldn't want to show that your heart rate was racing, right? So we had to change that aspect. On the right-hand side, and this is something I'm very passionate about, which is the next generation of technologists that are out there. We have found that teaching young girls and young men about technology in a fun way is the way to hook them so that this room continues to be filled for the next 20 years. And so working with Intel, with IBM, and a startup called 360 Fashion, we have also now produced a kit. And inside the kit are sensors, our fabric that has LEDs embedded into it. It's washable, one of the big challenges with wearable IoT. And kids can take that and create a tunic, a cover for their computer that now has embedded sensors in it, but you can also code it, leverage the cognitive APIs, and have the colors change as you're sensing something, learning something, doing something. We've released the kit first in China. We'll take it to India in June, and then it will come into the United States. And we believe if the results so far in China are any indication, this will be a great way for kids to start learning the next generation of technology. So I showed you these two fun things to talk about cognitive IoT. This is a growing space, something that's being used everywhere. You know, last year we talked about it being used in oil wells. We talked about it being used in farming. So this time I wanted to show you how broad and wide scale this whole area of cognitive IoT is going with retail. So that's our number 2 trend, cognitive IoT, as opposed to just simple Internet of Things, being able to apply, think, learn, and reason with those devices as well. So let's go on to our third trend. And the third trend I want to talk about is gamification. Now, many of you may not know, I actually started the first gaming unit inside of IBM. And we today use gaming, a game, in fact, on our IBM.com website to generate leads. In fact, one of our number 1 ways to generate C-suite leads, that's the CEO, the Chief Marketing Officer, Chief Financial Officer, is with this game, where you play a business scenario, but as you're doing that, you learn about the technology. So you're probably wondering, what are all those CEOs and CMOs doing? They're playing my game. Gaming is going to be the next big trend out there. We see it because customer experience is the next big competitive differentiator. It helps you to learn through experience, not just slides, not just words, but experience. It really does help you to debug and think through very complicated problems that exist in the marketplace. And it really does enable you to influence others. One of the fastest growing games out there today, the way they got so fast, reached 1 million users in a day, was they asked everyone playing the game to get to the next level, they had to invite 10 more players and 10 more players and 10 more players. So it has a lot of influence because people feel passionate about what they're doing and connected. But it's not just about, the fluffy stuff. It's also about the market. So, last year I didn't even have this in my trends because it really, while we were experimenting with it, and we do a lot of agile experiments, really had not caught off as grand and as great as would qualify it for a trend. But look at this today. $20 billion going to be spent on healthcare simulations in a gaming fashion. Again, cognitive will be embedded in there to make the simulations better. Defense simulations, grown to $16 billion using gaming. Gamification, just to do gaming, fun gaming, $11 billion. And in education, gaming has now grown to over an $8 billion market. In all of these cases, as we look at VC and investment in gaming, it has been elevating over the past year. But the top gatherer of funds, again, are those games who imply or embed inside of them that cognitive element. So what type of things would that be? Well, if you look at it, we have a whole set of APIs that are specific for gamers. Retrieve and rank, for instance. Personality insight. We actually change the game, change what you're doing based on your personality. This is a great way to differentiate and to make the game not boring, but to enable the level ups to change based on not just personality, but you also see tone analysis in here. We can change games based on your mood of the day. So if you're not feeling happy that day, maybe we slow the game down. We give you different challenges. If you are, and if you've had a great day, we provide even more challenges. Trade-off analysis, very important. Dialogue, doing more games via voice, really making a huge difference in the marketplace. And if you think about some of these, like let's just take the retrieve and rank, you've got to pull data from huge data sets into a game that offers the most value to your users. And if you can learn in that, then your game obviously can stand the test of time. So let me give you an example of this as well. So this is a cyber defense training game. This is actually to train people on cyber security. This is an Austin-based startup that we've been working with called Spark Cognition. And what they've done is they've created a game to train one of the areas that has the fewest skills today, which are cybersecurity experts. And that they found that taking classes at school is good, simulations are okay, but when the game can change on you, because it's actually playing you with smarts, with cognition, that you have better defensive and offensive strategies as you move forward. So here, Watson actually powers an avatar, and this avatar is Athena. And Athena provides both challenges, but then guidance. This is how you might have responded. This is what you might have thought through. And so it's continuously training someone, not just at one element, but continuously training as you go through the game. It's been a really, I think, popular way to provide training elements in addition to other areas, like you see gathering marketing leads, educating on the whole, and as well growing your business as you're going forward. So if you haven't thought about gamification and the power that gamification can also bring into your business, especially with today's access to the APIs, you definitely want to check out the Watson gamification. Okay, we've got two more trends to go through, and one of them I wanted to find out, how many of you guys today are leveraging blockchain? Okay, so we got one over here. That's great. Okay, good. So this is good. So blockchain, powers Bitcoin. It's a public ledger that everyone can leverage and use, but no single user can control it. So you can see all the different components here. The ledger itself is probably the most important one. The consensus piece, the smart contract, and as well a whole set of security metrics that can help and allow and enable you to reduce the time that you're using in your transactions in any part of the supply chain, reduce cost, and in many cases reduce the risk as well. So this is becoming, I think, a great opportunity across all industries. It's one of the top hot topics that we're seeing across the world. And we believe it is going to become a huge disruptive technology, and it's on its way to do that today. You can see where we see it being used, like digital currencies, like what we see in Bitcoin, but also smart contracts, which I'll show you here in just a second, which is really becoming a new disruptive industry, but also for the way that you keep records and the way that you're conducting your business across the supply chain. Now, if you think about this, one of the interesting numbers we found in terms of the trending area is that by 2020, which is not that far away, we believe that blockchain will reduce a bank's infrastructure cost by $15 to $20 billion a year. So this will have a major disruptive impact on the way that banking is done overall. And one of the things I wanted to show you is an example of how this is being done. And I wanted to use IBM because IBM is now leveraging and using blockchain. So this is our global finance area where we do a lot of channel financing. It spans across 4,000 suppliers and partners. So we financed about $44 billion, and we did that in about 2.9 million transactions. That was about 6,300 blocks. It combined the data that was provided by the participants in that network of all those vendors. And in addition, we created this consolidated way, and detailed view of the outcomes, which resulted in a significant reduction in disputes, in the cycle time that we managed, and in the working capital, not just for us, but also for the 4,000 suppliers in the supply chain. So if you haven't looked at blockchain today is being used in retail and insurance and banking. You really need to take a look at this new disruptive technology to see how you might be able to embed it inside of your solution. Okay, let me go on to the fifth one. I think I'm starting to run out of time. Design thinking. Now you may be saying, oh my gosh, well design thinking is not a technology. It's not. But it's the way that you make your technology, your solution, your application better. It is all about creating that experience for your customer. And we found whether we're working in blockchain, we need an experience for a bank or a retailer or that fashion dress or whatever we're accomplishing. Design now is the level of standard that all of us have to go through. We have to have a way to create that great experience. So design thinking does a couple of different things in its approach. And you guys know here in San Francisco, IDEO is one of the very best. We at IBM actually took IDEO's methodology. We customized it for IBM, working in a distributed environment. That design methodology is available for startups who want to look at how to use this methodology and what they're doing. So it's all about experiences that put the user first, solutions that are really geared for the user's needs, the user first. It is not about force-fitting a technology to a solution or a need. So it causes you to think differently and iteratively. Many of you probably know about Scrum sessions and the way that you iterate on design, doing A/B testing. And if you think about the way you create something, we call it aesthetically pleasing, making sure that it delights the user, that it's fun to use, regardless of whether it's B2B or B2C, that these principles are critical in the next generation of disruptive technologies today. I'll show you one quick example here in this particular area. Have you guys heard about the application called Runkeeper? Anybody heard about this? Okay. So Runkeeper actually was designed and put into the market, but was done without design thinking. It really didn't go anywhere. Had lots of great things included in it, but really did not take off. They actually went through our design methodology, redesigned the application, and it started taking off, and in fact became so easy that they decided to release a version of it for visually impaired runners. So because they worked with IBM to design this app, made it so easy, you can see that our IBM Garage team actually here in San Francisco designed this very special version of Runkeeper so that the gentleman here who is blind actually was able to accomplish a run that he had been wanting to do his entire life, leveraging and using the application. The application speaks to you, it guides him as he's running, tells him when hills are coming, senses and adjusts. It's definitely user first. It's very pleasing to the voice because he can't see. And Simon, who is the runner here, did this in the 2016 Boston Marathon and was guided through his entire run from this application. So again, you're seeing that design makes a difference in the success or the failure of different products and portfolios. Now what I want to do, those are our 5 different trends. I want to show you the power, though, when you combine all those things together. So this is Grush. Anybody heard of Grush? Anybody Anybody watch America's Greatest Makers? You guys seen that show? It's designed by the same guy who does Shark Tank. So they went through hundreds of thousands of applications. They went down to the top 100, the top 50. Now they're down to the top 5. Grush is one of the top 5 on this reality TV show today. And I just wanted to talk about this very interesting San Francisco startup. So it's a toothbrush. It has sensors in the toothbrush. So as you're brushing your teeth, the sensors can tell you how well you brushed each tooth. It's getting data sets, hopefully twice a day. Hopefully you're brushing your teeth at least twice a day. So it gets over 10,000 data sets per person per each tooth brushing. So obviously it's using IoT. It's also on a mobile device for your child. It has a game. And as you're brushing your teeth, the game adjusts. Oh, you didn't get your back molars. Oh, you didn't get here. And so the game keeps the child into brushing your teeth. I'm sure nobody's had a child who wet their toothbrush and said, oh, look, Mom, I brushed my teeth. Just feel my toothbrush. Can't do that here. I guess you could hack it, but. So it has gamification in it. It's cognitive because it's learning about it. And if you think about the way this was designed, because it has to be easy enough for a child and an adult, it was using design thinking to really apply that agile methodology. So you're probably thinking, where's blockchain? What's going on with that? I don't know if you guys just saw in the news, but insurance companies now, because of the success of toothbrushes, like this one for Grush, are going to analyze your data and in their supply chain of providing dental insurance to you, this is true, if you have the data, then your cost of dental insurance will go down because you can prove that you're actually brushing your teeth well. It's true. So think about that market. A simple example, but one I think that's very powerful. So just a couple more things. So, everything I've talked to you about today, design, agile, cognitive, it can be used if you're a small company, a startup, or if you're a big company. IBM just did something called the Cognitive Build. 480,000 IBMers. We had a major hackathon and pitchathon. 270,000 projects. A small number, right? Wouldn't you say? That we whittled down to the top 50. And Monday and Tuesday of this week in Austin, Texas, we had judges and mentors going through those, selecting the top solutions, top 8, that we're going to now deploy throughout IBM, leveraging cognitive, IoT, blockchain, mobile, and gamification. Now, we brought in our own customers. We brought in Geico. We brought in ADP to help us judge those. So these projects were not just for inside of IBM, but also outside of IBM. So if you're a large company and you're thinking, oh, I can't do that experimentation or I can't do that A/B testing, you definitely can do that because IBM as a large company did that as well. Okay, so hopefully you're sitting there now going, okay, I want to do something. What do I do? If you're a techie like me, a geek, and you want to understand the technology, like I did, then you want to go out to DeveloperWorks on the top. You want to play with those Watson APIs. All the demo I showed you plus 15 others are out there. You can grab the code and play with it in GitHub if you want to. You can input your own data sets, your own pictures, your own text data, and you can leverage it, play with it. I encourage you to do that. Send me your feedback. I want to know how that goes. If you're an entrepreneur, and you're interested in the business aspects, we have a program that you can sign up for here. It's called the Global Entrepreneur Program. You get up to $120,000 of cloud services, which includes for a year those free Watson and those IoT, those cognitive IoT, those gaming APIs that you can use and leverage as well, plus help on go-to-market. So Grush, we actually helped them with America's Greatest Makers and get some press around that. We helped Alpha Modus. One of the very first commercials that IBM's ever done with a startup was done this year with our startup called Alpha Modus at the Masters, featuring their cognitive solution for banking. So there's a lot that can be done there as well. So what I'm hoping is that this is going to be very action-oriented for you. You guys are going to take this back, apply it to your company, to your solution, to your application. And I'm hoping that you will have an essential solution that next year you're going to come back and tell me, like Huffington today told me they won one of the top 50 awards, that they've applied Watson and that now their solution is skyrocketing. Thank you so much for the honor of speaking today. I really appreciate it. Thank you.